Peace and blessings. My name is Trinity. And on this channel, I talk about my journey through African spirituality and self-improvement. Today, we're going to talk about something that's very important to me, something that has been the focus of my life for quite a while now, and that is IFA. IFA is a spiritual tradition of West Africa, Nigeria, originating with the Yoruba people, but it made its way over here to the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to break it up into two parts. In this first part, I'm going to give you an introduction to IFA for those of you who aren't familiar, to the best of my knowledge. And in the second part, I'm going to talk about my experience moving into it, what my journey was into it, as it was very divinely guided. Part one. Nowadays, there are pretty much two sects of IFA, right? You have a sect that is still in Nigeria that is referred to as Isheshe, right? And you have a sect that is primarily radiant from Cuba, which some people may be familiar with by the name of Lukumi or Santaria, right? But main thing there is it's the same faith, different ways of going about it, right? Kind of how in Christianity there are many different denominations, right? But all of this is IFA, right? So I'm going to talk about IFA. Okay, so to break down the philosophy, let's talk about it from a philosophical standpoint, right? What is this tradition based in, right? What is the mindset that it's based in, right? So there is one God, right? There's one creator of all that is referred to by the name of Olodumare, right? Olodumare. And Olodumare is the creator of all things, right? He is the light. He is the light of consciousness, right? And there came a time where Olodumare wanted to come into being, right? He wanted to engage in that big bang, or that first spark that we talk about in different ways across traditions and philosophies. So what happened was, in the midst of all of the darkness of the universe, all of the infinite potential of the universe, which is organized in the territory of Olodumare's counterpart of Eshu, right? Eshu is the deity that resides over all of the darkness, all of the potential energy of the universe, right? So they made a pact, right? Olodumare said, I want to come into creation, right? And, I want to do it here where you are, right? Eshu said, cool. Like, as long as, your people, respect you, right? And respect me, I don't have any issues, right? So then Olodumare then broke himself off into particles of light, right? He exploded into particles of light, or into the spectrum of light, right? So when we talk about the visible light spectrum and these colors, now we can get into the concept of Irumole, right? And the Irumole are different spectrums of light, different emanations of the creator, right? So when we get into these different deities, right, that fall under the one most high creator, their fundamental manifestation was as Irumole, or as cosmic forces. So when the universe came into being, when that light came out of the darkness and everything, combusted into creation and expanded, there are different cosmic forces, different waves of frequency that formed and organized in that process, right? So those forces, those spectrums of light, those fundamental forces are referred to as the Irumole, right? But then within the philosophy of Ifa, those particles of light, those energies, those fundamental energies of the universe began to manifest onto Earth, right? They began to manifest as human beings and take part lives on Earth. And I'm not going to get into, how the Earth was formed and all of that, but the main point here is that these fundamental forces began to live human lives. They began to manifest in human form and live human lives. And they began to do this over and over and over again, and until, and they began to learn things about themselves and about each other, right? And this is where we get the concept of the Orishas, right? So the Most High Creator is Olodumare. The universe was created with a partnership between Olodumare and Eshu. And in the creation of the universe, the Irumole came into being as emanations of Olodumare. And when these Irumole began to manifest on Earth and live human lives over millennia, they would live and die to become Orishas, right? These deities that we pay our respects to. But it's important to note that Orishas are simply forces of nature. They are the ancestors of humanity who embodied certain forces of nature over the courses of their lives, right? So what I mean by that is this. Think about it like astrology, right? You have fire signs, you have water signs, you have air signs, you have earth signs, right? And not all earth signs are the same, but they have similar qualities, right? Not all fire signs are the same, etc. They have similar qualities, identifying features. So when many people are living these lives under those categories, right? They have similar stories, or similarities can be found within their stories, within their lives. So the concept of the Orishas, right, is that they live these lives on Earth as energies, as the embodiment of energies, as the human experience over the course of millennia of a particular nature, right? In Africa, you had some people who were more aggressive and warlike in nature. You had some people who were more solitary, right? You had some people who were very charismatic and outgoing and, in the mix, right? But we're talking about the embodiment, the imitation of, the respect and reverence for certain forces of nature as they relate to the human experience, right? So some of the Orishas that people may be familiar with are people like Yemaya, Oshun, Ogun, Oromila, Shango, right? Eshu in his Orisha form is Elegua. We have Obatala, right? But all of these different Orishas correspond with different forces of nature, different psychological and emotional DNA, okay? But as these Orishas begin to live their lives, right, and as humanity and the universe begin to play out and form into what it is that we experience today, the observations of these similarities, the observations of these lifetimes, these lessons, right, these experiences, pain and trauma, joys and prosperities, right, they were all documented through the oral history of African people. And this collection of oral history within the context of IFA became known as the IFA corpus, right? The Odu IFA. So the way that the Odu IFA is broken down is you have 256 Odu, or think about Odus as like chapters, right? So you have 256 chapters of these oral histories that have many different stories, many different verses, if you will, within them that gives humanity an understanding of how to align themselves with nature, with these natural forces, with the cosmos, with the deepest essence of themselves, with the main thing, right? The main thing with Ifa, period, is to live a life of Iwa Pele. And Iwa Pele is good character. Good character. Meaning you live in alignment with yourself, you live in alignment with your family, you live in alignment with nature, and you live in alignment with the Most High and the cosmos. Right? Does that mean that we don't make mistakes? Does not mean that we're perfect? Does not mean that we are the Most High God on earth. It means that with the energy of the Most High within us, we have the ability or the free will to choose to always align ourselves or realign ourselves with what we know to be right. Right? It's the main point of Ifa. And the Odu Ifa helps us navigate that challenge. But we have 16 main Odus, right? We have 16 Odus that combine to compose the other 240, right? And when we look at the number 256, it is very similar to a computer, right? It is the ancestral cosmic supercomputer, right? That allows for the people who go along with Ifa to understand what they should be doing and how to do it, and what not to do, what to look out for based on the historical past. So it's a very intelligent system of how do I live my life in the best way and experience prosperity and to continue my bloodline, to continue prosperity in humanity. So the person who is responsible for studying and relaying the wisdom of the Odu Ifa is called the Babalao, right? The Babalao, or the father of mysteries, right? This priest uses the Odus of Ifa as they come out through readings, right, to administer medicine, perform sacrifices, perform offerings to different forces of nature, or to perform different types of cleansings for a person, right? But the Babalao's responsibility is to serve humanity. Right? And one of the greatest services that a Babalao offers to humanity is the identification of a person's Odu of Ifa, right? The life that they are living, right? One of the 256 paths that they are living, and the guardian Orisha that is helping them live that path, right? And that service is offered through the Hand of Ifa ceremony, which I'm talking about, right? And the concept is this: every person has a unique head, right, which holds their destiny. And the concept of the head, particularly in that spiritual sense, holding the destiny, is called the Ori, right? The Ori, which is essentially the concept of your higher self, right? So according to the philosophy of Ifa, right, everybody, when they were in heaven, right, before they came down, before they manifested as a child, agreed with Olodumare on a path, on a destiny, right? You agreed with Olodumare on what your Odu of Ifa would be, right? And you agreed which guardian Orisha would assist you on that. Eshu was there, and Orumila, in his divine manifestation, was there keeping record. But then when you're born, you go through the portal of forgetfulness, which is why it is then important for the sons of Orumila, or the Babalaos, to then reveal to you everything that took place before you got down here, right? So that once you get that information, now you have your manual to go about your human experience with the least amount of problems, the least amount of friction, the clarity to be able to always align yourself with Iwapele and alignment with nature, right? Ma'at. Other people within the context of Ifa, another priesthood within Ifa, is that of people who become priests of their guardian orishas, right? And these people are called Olorishas, right? Olo Orisha, Olorisha, right? And these people have the ability to read others with the shells of Ifa, which are called the Erin de Logun, right? Erin din Logun, right? Which opens up a conversation with the Orishas directly, right? So the difference between the divination system of the Babalaos and the divination system of the Olorisha or the Orisha priest is that the Babalao, that divination system is directly relaying the word of Olodumare. Messages of the Orin de Logun is a conversation with the forces of nature. So they both have their place, and both priesthood, has prestige and their responsibilities to keep this faith flowing. But anyone's first step into Ifa, based on, my lineage and the way that I understand things, is to receive their hand of Ifa, to figure out who it is that they are. So you would go through the process that I went through, which is called the Hand of Ifa ceremony, or in Lukumi terms, it's called Mano Orula, right? And I did initiate into a Lukumi house, or a house with a lineage that is Afro-Cuban. So, that is the side of the ocean that I approach things on. To recap, the organization of things is like this. Olodumare is the creator of all things, the light of all consciousness, the light of all creation. Once Olodumare wanted to come into creation, he made a partnership with Eshu, which is representative of all of the darkness of the universe, all of the infinite potential of the universe. They embarked on the journey of creation being created. And as creation came into being, the Irumole manifested as different cosmic forces, different spectrums of light. And when those energies then manifested onto Earth and lived lives, they lived and died and became known as Orishas. And this process was documented by the ancient peoples of Africa over millennia to formulate the Odu of Ifa, right? The Ifa corpus, where all the information of all of those lives, right? All of those lessons, all of that wisdom was collected so that the people who would come after could have a better life, could have more clarity in how to live our lives in alignment with nature and what is right in terms of our human condition. When it comes into someone actually initiating into this philosophy, the first step is their Hand of Ifa ceremony, where the son of Orumila, right, the sons of Orumila, the Babalaos, have the responsibility of revealing to the person the nature of their Ori, or their unique head, right, by the way of a Odu, one of 256 Odu, and a guardian Orisha to help them along that path. And once a person has this, they then have the opportunity to live out that destiny to the best of their ability. But some people have the option to become, or a priest of their guardian Orisha, or the men within Lukumi, right, may have the opportunity to become Babalaos, become the sons of Orumi. Overall, the point of this faith is good character. It is to do the right things and to align with nature in such a way that there isn't a lot of friction or challenge to us being able to do the right things and to be able to live the best life that we can live with what it is that we have, right? With what it is that we agreed to, right? So that we can live and procreate and leave our children with the ability to be prosperous and aligned with nature as we were. But overall, it's a very beautiful system. It's you know, very complex. It's a lot of different moving parts, but it's something that's very dear to my heart, something that just aligns with the way that my mind works. You know, it aligns with where I'm moving and going as a person, I say. So in part 2, I'm gonna go over my actual journey into learning about IFA, passing over into Mano Orula, and, you know, my steps and my goals moving forward. But with that said, wishing everybody enjoys the day, wishing everybody blessings and peace. I say.